At the outset of the 2011 season, the high rainfall levels in recent months created a level of uncertainty for the South African farmer. While some farmers have been devastated by the flooding, many farmers have benefited from the rain for higher crop yields. Today we talk to an industry analyst from COFACE, Johan Coetzee, whose task it is to review and track industry trends in the South African and international agriculture markets. Good morning, Johan. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
What are the main indicators in the South African agricultural market in view of the recent high rainfall figures?
There's a few components that you have to look at the moment. There's definite damage in terms of crops, but the expectations and feedback from the market is that crops damage is around about 2 to 10%. Then on the other side, you have the benefit of the high rains, which will lead to high yields that can mitigate and almost mitigate the losses incurred by those damages to those crops. Then if you look at the fruit sector, it's more of a geographical damage in terms of the flooding in the Northern Cape, specifically the grapes, table grapes and raisins. But once again, on that side, the actual damage is still to be determined. The Department of Agriculture is still looking into that. But at this stage, we are seeing some benefits from the high yields or possible high yields.
That's nice to hear. I know that China is a very big market for us. Well, what fruit is China buying from us?
If you look at the trade with China or the bilateral trade agreements that are in place, it's mostly focused on citrus, your oranges and your lemons, as well as your table grapes. The potential there for the market is quite exceptional. Last year, the Department of Trade and Industry facilitated a show of our product on that side, and they're doing the same this year in September. And the feedback is quite positive in terms of demand and interest for our produce.
Well, that's a big market, so that's good news. What do the export predictions look like in comparison to those of last year, and especially also with the eye on Africa?
Yes, in terms of international demand, markets have stabilized, so we see that we will follow through on that growth in terms of 2010, moving towards 2011. We've seen nice recovery for certain produce, especially the fruit export market in 2010, and we believe that will continue in the 2011 market. In terms of Africa, there is potential as the African continent normalizes, fiscal policies are in place, controls are in place, so we see some increase in demand on that side as well. Not in the short term, but there is potential in Africa.
Wheat prices improved last year in 2010, mainly due to a fall in domestic production. What is your prediction for this year?
Look, there's been a few changes in the market. We've seen increases on prices, domestic prices, due to the weakening of the rand or the volatility in the rand, but also in terms of production levels and stock levels on an international basis. Due to the fact that pricing is determined via price parity, there has been some upward movement. But we do foresee that in terms of the land utilized for that specific crop, we will see that continuous trend of declining land being utilized to produce that. But at the moment, we're seeing some nice upward movement in terms of prices that will benefit the farmers in the short run. But the long-term view still remains the same.
Now, Johan, last year, role players in the maize market called for a 30% less production. What happened since?
If you look at the crop estimate scenario at the moment, or figures released, you've noted around about a 10 to 13% reduction, which was expected. But we've also seen an increase in prices, and that is to a large extent due to movement within the international market. America is not producing at the levels expected. Demand has increased. So in terms of that, there's upward movement on the prices due to lower areas planted, but also in terms of the international market. So the 30% reduction didn't realize, but a 10 to 13% possible reduction in terms of land utilized.
Johan, can you explain to me what is the Agribusiness Confidence Index and how is it being constructed?
Effectively, it's feedback from role players within the market. It's done on a quarterly basis. A questionnaire is sent through to role players in the market and has asked them certain questions in terms of their expectations in the market, in terms of turnover, in terms of profitability, in terms of market share, bad debt, as well as finance cost. And these figures are then compiled and weighted, and then it gives you an indication of what the feeling is within the market. Now, if you look at the quarter-on-quarter movement, there is a bit of a decline, but it's still much better than compared to a year ago, and much better than the 2003, 2004, and 2005 period. So from a perception point of view, or from feedback point of view from the players in the market, it looks more positive in terms of their view.
And does this index cut right across the board?
It encloses all role players within the market, so yes, it will.
Are you optimistic?
The agricultural sector is always a challenging one. It's not a normal sector where you operate within. You've got factors like your rain, etc., also an international market which can be volatile. So in terms of that, there's a lot of factors that you have to take into consideration. I think a large component from our point of view is the farmer's ability to maintain profitability, managing their risk on their side through insurance as well, fixing prices, which is a large component of their risk. In terms of that, I think it's been a learning curve for a lot of farmers out there, and I think that will benefit us in the future.
And we'll have to see what the Brent crude oil is doing.
Yes, of course, that's also going to be an impact. That will be an impact on the larger economy as well. So we'll have to see the movement on that side.
Johan, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.